Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, here to discuss any last-minute trades and teams, any discussions that come through. Just a bit of a general chat before we get into the bat toss and the final teams. As always, check us out on all our social media platforms, including, in particular, Spotify and YouTube is where we put up most of our stuff. And if not there, we, I guess everywhere else you can get social media platforms. I know Benny does like to put some things up on the old TikTok, but in particular, if you want to get in contact with us, go to the Twitter. Oh, and for some reason that's coming through weirdly there, but yeah, go to Twitter. Supercoach Insider 100 and Swizz26 is always the best way to get hold of us. Alrighty, so in regards to my team, there is a couple of bit of a changes I've made. When I made my video last night, I think within the hour the Harris Ralph news came out, so that was pretty disappointing. It always happens that, so there's not a lot you can do sometimes, as we just try to make our decisions with the news that we've got in front of us. So there were a couple of changes that I have made. The obvious one with that is Harris Ralph going out. Nisa is sitting there that with the news that he is going to play. Probably the biggest one is Jack Wood. Some massive news about him today. There was the rumours going around this morning that not only would he play, but he would open the batting and play as the second spinner. So it looks like that has been confirmed. Definitely should be in. Well done to one mate in particular. I think I always gamble responsibly when I'm talking about betting stuff, but he got on at, I think he was paying 101 for the highest scorer tonight, and he is now coming to about $4.50. So I believe he did get a bit of a nice cash out for that. So well done to that person. But yeah, so all the rumours there about Wood coming in. So it's 62k. It's hard to ignore. I don't know how he'll sit for game 3, but definitely game 1 and 2, when you've got to take into account that they will be losing Labuschagne and Khawaja. So there's probably no reason why they couldn't just keep Wood in there. And then maybe game 3 when Pearson, McSweeney and Renshaw all come back in, they'll probably get the change there. So that's that's a big one for us because we're always looking for rookie cash cows, and 62k to potentially either loop or if you want to start. But I think looping here is the best option to go. Somebody's saying here that the Stars have won the bat flip, but I haven't had confirmation of that yet through my other app. But we'll see what happens there, because that might make a couple of changes if we know what a team is batting or bowling first. I've got nothing yet on the app, but somebody's saying that apparently is, but I wouldn't think so because the live coverage has not started. So Jack Wood came into my side. The other one is Daniel Sams. I was playing Gilks on the emergency. I really don't like the fact that Sams doesn't have a double game, so that's the one that could alter. But as I've said all along, I have wanted the 2 Thunder players in my side. I've got about 8k left, so one potential move there might be Darcy Short goes to sort of Connolly, and then Sams goes to the bench, and then I try to sort of alter one of these Renegades players to another Strikers player, and then Connolly comes on field. It just depends where Cooper Connolly ends up being listed. There is potential for rain in the Geelong and the MCG game for the Scorchers. So they play Saturday night in Geelong, and all the weather looking this week in Melbourne is pretty putrid for the weekend. So potentially they get on for a shorter game. So that would mean is we're looking at the not getting the bonus for our bowlers, because they might be only bowling up to like 2 overs each. So that would be very frustrating. But there is potential for those bowlers to come on and take sort of late wickets in a sort of T10 match. You could have anything on there. You could have a team make 1 for 100, or they could be all out for 40, or just absolutely smash something ridiculous score. So you want your bowlers don't change a lot in that game, but you just kind of want those guys who are going to be especially at the end. But the batsmen, if you've got a shortened game and it looks like, that's going to be the case, then you do not want batsmen after the top 3 because it's going to be all gun-ho up the top of the order. So that will come into play as I'm just trying to get up my weather app, and at the latest update is Saturday rain all day, but apparently might stop throughout the evening. So looks like it's probably going through to roughly about what do we got there, 4 p.m, 5 p.m. But then it just depends if there's the odd shower that might affect that. And then Wednesday night we've got thunderstorms, so that does come into play. I was actually thinking about going to that game, but will be a little gun shy if it is going to be bucketing down, because nothing worse than going to the cricket, and there's not much cricket on. So that would then affect the Melbourne Stars second game, which is not much we can do about that. And it's probably why a couple of people asked me to do with that round 3 and 5 double, why maybe I haven't loaded up with that third star, Stoinis being a popular choice. Now, there is a chance that Stoinis does go to the top of the order, but I think Harper and Maxwell could potentially go open if there is a shortened game against the Scorchers. So that's why I'm sticking with them. Stoinis has been a little bit tempting just because of the extra cash, and it would mean I can get a Sam's up, but I just don't like his role at the moment. Like, anybody who can bat anywhere between 1 and 5, 1 and 6, it does scare me a bit if they're not going to bowl. There's other players there who are all-rounders who will be bowling, so you've definitely got to take that into account. I'm just having a look. There's a couple of questions coming through, so I will get to them very shortly. Thank you for those people who are tuning in for these last minute. But here we go. We've got Corey, good lad. Scorchers are playing on Sunday. Where is it supposed to be fine? Is that so they are meant to be playing on Sunday. Thanks for the correction there, but I still don't think the weather was meant to be that good on Sunday, was it? No, I've got on my app it's thunderstorms in the morning. Now, I'm no Jane Bunn here, but yeah, it does say, and then it's meant to clear up later in the day, but that could. It's always hard with the weather as well, because it's Melbourne, it's Geelong, Victoria. We know how often things change, but if there is rain around, I think that I'm more worried about that Wednesday game, if anything. It says cloudy in the morning with thunderstorms developing later in the day. Like, that's kind of a scary thing. And then in the evening, it says thunderstorms likely in the evening. So it's not even, there might be a chance for a shower or some rain. It's actually thunderstorms are meant to be likely for next Wednesday. That does put some of those players at risk. I know I've been getting a little bit of criticism from a couple of Scorchers fans because I haven't had any Scorchers in my team. And that would be, really disappointing. I'm getting a message saying Wood's not playing, so let's just have a look here. There's the Heat have lost the flip and will bat first. And Wood not picked after all those rumours. So one of my mate managed to get that cash out. So because in the end he hasn't played, so that's an easy trade, and I'm going to actually do that right now while I'm live. It won't. I might have to update that while I'm here. But so Mr. Wood, back out you go, and in comes Cooper Connolly like I had before. Pretty well what I had was Cooper Connolly's on field, and then Sam's is off, and then I can just Cooper Connolly's off, and then I can just loophole there. So I'll put Cooper on. Thank you for that update, Wood. So that rumour turned out not to be true, which is fine. Beautiful. So I will update that situation. All right, so going into that bat flip, we have Munro and Khawaja. That's good that for those who are wanting to start Munro, don't mind him as a VC option. I have looked at that for a little while. So we've got Khawaja, Labuschagne, Billings, Bryant, Walter, Nisa. Would not be surprised if Nisa came in ahead of Walter, depending on the situation. But yeah, I probably expect Walter being the import to bat in that position, but there could be always juggling around. Then we've got Bartlett, Johnson, Swepson and Kuderman. So Swepson did hold his spot. Kai's going Walter at 6 isn't the worst. And I don't mind Walter. I know a couple of people have brought in Kuderman, so his potential to bowl 4 overs in 3 games isn't bad. Walter's probably going to bowl 2 and bat 6, so that's not a bad situation as well. Batting first is probably good for us as well, because that means Munro, potentially Billings will get a good hit at it. Would have preferred to see Billings at 3, but it is what it is with him at 4. So it's probably kind of that lineup as we expected the other day. It's probably no surprise there in the end. A few people asking about Nessa, should we kind of go there? And I still think if they're playing him and it's only 4 overs, it's hard to leave him out because we just know what the guy can do. I feel like there's probably more FOMO if I leave out Nessa. That it's a break even of 189 over the 3 games if he does play all 3 games. If he doesn't play 3 games, it's adjusted to 2. Would I want Michael Nessa for a 2 games if that was all he's playing? Yeah, I probably do. I probably like him a little bit more than Rogers. Hardy, with the weather, probably scares me just a little bit, so I probably like Nessa better there. Who else? We've got Behrendorff and Ty. I'm a big fan of Behrendorff, but I probably slightly do take Nessa still. So if it was a 2-game situation, I'm probably still taking those guys. This is a guy that kicked off his first game of the season last year. It was a double round for a 208 for that round. So he scores for fun. One of the best players in Australia in the short format. And if he does play 3 games, I'm sure one of those games he's going to go great. They wouldn't be playing him if he was more of a risk of injury. I think the PM's 11's a bit different. If you're bowling sort of 15, 20 overs throughout the day, that's a completely different story than bowling, your 4 overs and coming in and having a bit of a swat at the end. So, I think that is fine as I'm trying to update this team so you guys can all see it on the graphic. But, so that's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment. So Wood back out for me. Just a little bit disappointing there because that would have been kind of good to have that extra rookie, but what can you do? Any other decisions other people are kind of looking at, feel free to put them on the chat and we can discuss about that. We've got the Renegade squad has been released for tomorrow. The interesting one they've got as a replacement for an overseas replacement for Quinton de Kock, which is Jordan Cox, currently the 2nd highest run scorer in the T10 league. He scored 265 runs in 6 games at 66, arrived in Australia, part of the 14-man squad, has a strike rate of 232. So it'll be interesting to see what A, his price is, and B, if he does make the final cut for them. So sometimes, like we've seen with Harris Ralph, players flying in at the last minute, they don't want to play. There's potential there that maybe play Cox for the 2nd game. If we don't have his price yet. Baz Link is saying Walter won't bowl. I won't say won't bowl, but I think they do have some other options in there if we have a look at that squad. So you've got Kuhnemann, Swepson, Johnson and Bartlett. So they're the main 4, and then you've got Nessa. I feel like it's probably a situation where you've got Bartlett, Johnson, maybe Kuhnemann bowls 4 each. So that's 12 there. You've got probably Nessa that might bowl 4. And then maybe Swepson bowls, say, 3 and Walter gets 1. And then maybe one of the quicks only bowls 3. There's a world where Swepson and Kuhnemann both could bowl 3 each. And then Walter comes on for 2. So, guys, if Walter doesn't bowl, I'll be shocked. Yeah, he's a death over specialist. So, I could see that. And especially because maybe young Johnson, they don't want to go there with him yet. Probably opens up. And then, Walter probably might come on in the end or even play that sort of that little bit of that middle role. A lot of T20 games, they don't do the whole, okay, you're going to be bowling 3 or 4 in a row like we might do, say, in one day as or test match cricket. We saw, was it even in the World Cup where Pat Cummins moved his bowlers around? Did he have something like 11 different bowlers in 13 overs or it was something ridiculous like that, 14 overs, where he just kept chopping and changing. So you could see a situation where maybe Kuhnemann bowls even the first over to open, and then in the middle orders, they go Swepson, Kuhnemann, Walter, then back to Swepson, Kuhnemann. So they might fling it around and then maybe give Walter the extra one at the end, just to keep the batsman guessing. To Dean Kudanol as a pod, I said earlier in one of the other pods, it's not that I don't like Kudanol because I think he's a fantastic player. And if he plays and he's fit, you could be on an absolute winner there because he'll score 100. And then, maybe second game doesn't pull up because that's always been Kudanol's problem. It's not his skill, it's just his injuries. So I don't mind it because I think first game without sort of Webster being there, that takes a couple overs because they do like using him. I think Kudinol, they'll probably be the key in that bowling attack compared if they kind of had Ralph in. It would have been maybe a different story. So I think Kudinol will have a big role in that first game. But then, I'm more worried about how his body holds up after that. The probably good thing for him, if you are an owner, is he does have a bye round 2, so he does have a fair gap. So even if he does get one of his niggles, he might have time to recover. I don't mind it as a pod. Football fraud. Is that a Man City there as your logo? If it is, good on you. Will Abbott play? I think he's over his niggle. He played in the practice match for the Sixers 2 days ago. So, if they're letting him bowl in there, that probably shows enough that he will play. And I probably think he's more likely than, say, Hayden Kerr with his niggles and Ben Dorshus with the unfortunate thing with his family. So, I think because of those situations, that's where you'll have Abbott come in and join Curran there. He's also said, what's up with Ralph? Yeah, it's really frustrating there because they've only got him on a 5-game contract, and then he's not here for one of those games. And it's only because he landed in on, was it Wednesday? So obviously they don't think he's ready enough coming in here and then settling in. So, it's just frustrating for the people like myself who wanted to start Harris Ralph because he, would have been a lock in my team, even though he's not here for the round 5 double. I just think a guy that can bowl 150 Ks, and if he gets the chance to bowl at the death, he could cause some real serious damage. All right, who we got there? I got Kai's going. Bartlett will bowl 3 at the start. Midish and Walter bowls 3. I think Walter could bowl anywhere from 1 to 3. It's always hard to know because you don't know how the situation, the matchups. Certain bowlers will be used for certain batsmen, but I don't think he doesn't bowl. He definitely will at least roll the arm over for 1. The perfect world, if you're an owner, you want him bowling 3. To Pacey, who do you like better, K, Richo, or Zampa? Well, I've got Zampa in there at the moment. I've probably had an argument with one of my good mates about this because he's on the Kane Richardson's train where I'm on the Zampa train. I'd probably prefer to have a look at Rogers and Zampa, Richardson for the first double, and then kind of come back to them in round 3. It's probably a little bit of the cash as well for me. If I probably had a little bit more cash, like if I bring Sam's down, I probably get easier to get Zampa up. But I also talked about the other day how either Mujib or Zampa, one of them seems to be the player that goes off, and teams will target one and play a bit more defensive against the other. So I don't really want to hedge my bets in round 1 and be going, okay, Mudge, I'm going to go with you, and then Zampa's the one that actually gets off the train. I thought, well, it's just easier to pick both of them, and one of them's going to do well and probably the other one's not going to do well. So that's where I was at with that. So if I had to take one, I'm taking Zampa. And he's just come off the greatest World Cup bowling performance in the history of one-day World Cups. He took the most wickets ever. He looked fantastic. Now, I know T20s are slightly different, but you can't not ignore that sort of form that he's in. So, just some food for thought there. Better, Dorshus or Tom Rogers? Yeah, Tom Rogers. I was actually tempted to look at Dorshus, but once he had the what was going on with his family stuff, so we don't need to go into that, but I think people were aware. Unfortunately, I'm not risking with Dorshus. He might play anyway, but do I want to risk the idea? If he ends up playing, then there's a bit of food for thought in that because Rogers' form hasn't been great. But in saying that, it's practice matches. It's no different when we talk footy and we have players that don't perform well in practice matches. Some of the best players sort of just go through the motions, just trying to get some, what do we call it in footy, runs in the legs. It might have been a bit of the same with Tom Rogers there. So I'm sure he'll be fine once he starts playing actually proper games. So I'm not too kind of worried about his form. So I'd probably go him over Dorshus just because of the risk there with Dorshus and everything that's going on with him. Maxi worth picking. Please, if you don't have Maxi in, get him in straight away, mate. He's I've seen teams with him with the vice captaincy on, and and I've got no issue with that one at all, as I've just updated my team there, because mate, the guy's a superstar. Like I even played around today with putting him into the VC. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if Maxi just comes out and smashes it tonight. Who would you replace Ralph with? Well, if you don't want to change up your team too much, you could just go straight to Mir, who's the other Pakistani player who's the exact same price as Ralph. So that's the easiest one. You could potentially go to Spencer Johnson, as Ian's asked the question there. You know, he's got the triple. Even if he only plays 2, like he should perform well enough in 2. I have looked at Spencer Johnson. Probably now that I don't want too many heat. Like I've got no issue if you want to load up on 4 or 5 heat. Just that because they got that round 3 bye, I kind of just want to trade them out and not really carry too many of them just because of the price they are. And they're my ticket to get to the strikers players. So Munro and Nice are the 2 that'll leave my side. Billings is one I'm happy to hold on to, but he's definitely I feel like if I have Johnson as well, if there's another player for whatever reason doesn't perform or gets injured in my side, then I'm kind of stuck with a heat player who might not be in kind of my plan. So yeah, it's but I don't mind it. Like if you want Walter or Spencer Johnson, I think they're very good. I had Xavier Bartlett in there as well. But yeah, so it kind of depends on what sort of cash you've got there. But the like for like is Murrah and then Johnson for actually what he does. Nisa, Locke, yeah, I was debating about not starting him, but I just think it's easy to. I think there'll be some FOMO if I don't start him and he just goes nuts, and he could. And what's the kind of other options at that price range? Well, as I said, I was looking at Dorcius, and unfortunately that's not the case. Berendorf and Ty are fantastic players, but kind of I'm worried. Well, it's just, yeah, I'm kind of worried just because of that potential weather. And it's the last game, in particular on that Wednesday against the Stars, so we just don't know. Like, do I want to be risking predicting the weather? You know, what are we near? Well, we're Thursday, so we're 6 days out. I think there's more risk. Yeah. So what are the other options then? And then again, I was looking at going up the money to Richardson, but that's the same risk as the 2 WA boys, and Hardy's the other one. All the Western Australian players are all in the same price bracket. So I just think it's easy to go Nisa. We know he's playing. Good to see green ticks for the Brisbane guys. Yeah, how good's that? Any cheap players to bring in with the cash with price rises? Well, I was really annoyed because we all were looking at Jack Wood. The sneaky one, and we won't know until tomorrow, because I was just actually saying before we had those squads. We had at least the Renegade squad, and I was going to discuss that. But the Sixers, if Jack Edwards is in that squad, and I'm just trying to find if that's been updated or not. I do really like Jack Edwards. He did bowl 4 overs in the practice match the other day, so he could be a sneaky one. And one of my mates who's a very good Supercoach BBL player he has Jack Edwards in his team. I think on the bench at the moment, so that says a lot. So for me, that could even be Cooper Connolly down to Jack Edwards. So the Renegade squad news is Madison captain, Sutherland is the vice captain. That's why I have him in. Sutherland last year averaged 51. But you remove his first 3 games, and from that point on, he averaged 68. So that's 17 points under value of what he actually produced. And probably a bigger role, he's the leading wicket taker in the Marsh Cup. I'm struggling not to leave him out. Then we've got Clark, Cox, who we just talked about before, Dixon, Finch, JFM or Fraser McGurk, Harvey, O'Neill, Mudge, Richardson, Rogers, Wells, and Zampa. So if you're kind of working out which 3 are going to miss out on, I'm probably thinking O'Neill and Harvey are the obvious 2. And then it's probably Navy Dixon as well, so which probably says Cox might play. So very interesting to see what price Cox is. If he is a replacement and Cox not going to play the first couple of games, maybe Cox is that player for the first couple. It depends on exactly how long Jordan Cox we see him in the side. But yeah, if he performs and if he continues up on his T10 form, that could be a real cheap option for us to definitely consider. I'm just seeing if we've got any news about the Sixers at the moment, but I don't see anything coming through, which is annoying. All right, where are we up to there? So Johnson or Bartlett? I'm a big fan of Xavier Bartlett, but I think you've got to maybe just go Johnson. Yeah, it's a much of a muchness. If you want that extra 8K, that could be handy. If it's not, maybe flip a coin on that one. Both, I think, could see potentially play 2 games. Maybe Bartlett just because he's more likely to play 3 than 2. Louis asks, should I pick Johnson or not? Yeah, I've got no problem with the Johnson pick at all. Just got asked on actually in my Facebook, Swepson or no. I'm a no on Swepson. I'm just replying that. I'm a no on Swepo. Who have we got? Have gone Richardson, Walters, Kudinol to Abbott, Nisa, and Harper. Yeah, no, I like that. Harper hasn't had the best form while playing for the Renegades. I think the Stars will suit him better. And he did have some great form the other day in that Shield match where the rest of the Victorian batsmen looked awful. And Sam Harper looked like he was batting on a different pitch. So, yeah, Kyle, weather 6 days out pretty well. I know. In Melbourne, like the weather looking in 5 minutes can completely change. But I am a little when they've got thunderstorms, sort of Wednesday, Thursday, you've got to at least acknowledge that. So, I'm not saying I'm making wholesale changes, but for me, I was sort of on that 50-50 fence. So if you're backing in Perth players and that's what you had, yeah. But if you're like sort of me, it was like, okay, am I going Nesson or Curran versus Hardy or Berendorf? Yeah, it's enough to go sway me the way. And it takes out the risk because I already know Ness is playing and I'm 99% sure Curran's playing. And I've still got time. If Curran, for whatever reason, wasn't named, then I can always swap him over to one of the Perth Scorchers. And he also asked, do Edwards Connolly swap? Yeah, if Edwards is named, and we will know this. That's the great thing about the rolling lockout round 1. We'll know and have a better idea of some of these roles and get to see them. What's happening. So if Jack Edwards is not named tomorrow, it's easy. Keep Connolly. And if Edwards is named, and depending on how many bowlers, and if they haven't got Dorsius or Kerr in there, it means Edwards is going to bowl. Well, it's hard to leave him out. How come I haven't captained Nisa? Because I'm going to loophole. So I don't have a loophole in my team, but that just depends on how Nisa goes. I was nearly thinking about maybe putting Walter in, but the 101k loophole, the only way I probably could do that is then downgrading Sam's, and then I kind of changed the structure of my team. So there was one I was considering, I've had Gilks for a long time. So yeah, I could probably go that and put Connolly back up to a Johnson, but I didn't want to kind of have emergency loopholes first week. But there is potential for that if I really want to. So Nisa vice captain. If he goes absolutely crazy, then I can bring in a non-playing player from one of the other games, or somebody who might be, say, in the PM's 11, for example, it might be a Bancroft, but I do actually think he's going to play, or somebody who, might not be in for round 1. Quinton de Kock could be another example of that, who I know is going to play later on, and just bring him in now, and he can sit there and I get Nisa's score. So there's potential I can play around with sort of that. And Cole, I think you're right. Gilks made 69. Yeah, he looked good. My only issue, and I'm not a huge Bancroft fan, but what if Bancroft plays, opens, and takes the gloves? So I've had Gilks in there, and I didn't mind that as the bench option because I want 2 Thunder. So when it's the Thunder's double round 4, I can trade 3 in and have 5 Thunder players that round. That's how I've set it up. Gilks has been in there for a long time. For those people who've been following my team and what I've been talking about, I've really wanted Gilks in, but I am sort of worried about that. So it's easier to know because I know what Daniel Sams is going to do. He's actually quite highly owned for a guy that's only got 1 game in. But if I need that cash, let's just hypothetically say one of these other players doesn't get up for whatever reason, it's very easy for me to go down to Sam's, down to Gilks to get that 60k to then put another player up. Much easier to have the more expensive player than going the other way around. Beta, can you make trades from other teams after this game? Of course you can. So rolling lockout round 1. The only people you're not going to be able to trade out is your Heat or your Stars players. Finch, no. So football fraud, I do not a huge fan of that, only because I think they could rotate through that middle order. So they're not rotating Madison because he's the captain, not rotating Sutherland because he's the vice captain. So who are you left with? Clark and De Kock will come and open the batting. So you've got Sean Marsh, Finch, Fraser McGurk, and then you Harveys and others who could rotate through, and now they've even got Cox in there. So I think as much as some of these players have been superstars, Finch, Marsh, Siddle, older guys will get their opportunity throughout the tournament. I don't think they're going to be relying as much on them, but it also depends on how the Renegades are going too. Like if they're, smashing with some of these older players, then they probably keep their spot. If they're not, or these younger guys look like they're holding their own, then they'll probably go the younger guys. A guy's gone. Hughes scored 57 off 44 and 32 off 13 in his trial games. Probably going to play. And I actually had Hughes. I think I had Hughes over Patterson. So I think that's what it was kind of down to, that last spot in the Sixers, Hughes versus Patterson. Football fraud, go for some all-rounder then. Yeah, if you can. And you don't really want batsmen. That's my mate Grimo's number one rule in this. Outside of Munro, you do not want straight batsmen. And the only reason we've got Munro is because he's got the 3 games. And we know he's going to play 3 games up at the top of the order. But you want your batsmen doing something else. So that's why I'm very big on the wicket keepers, because you've got the chance for the fielding bonuses with the run-outs. And then you've got stumpings and catches. So you know they're in the game for that. And most of the keepers outside Nielsen, who I can't believe how many teams he was getting picked in, bat top order. Like Nielsen bats at like 8 or 9, so I don't like him. But so the wicket keepers, I like that. And then the all-rounders, so in there, Sam, Sutherland, and then some of the bowlers. Like I could go straight bowlers in there, but yeah, you want guys who are going to, hopefully, if you're a bowler, bat at least sort of 7, 8, 9. And if and bowl your 4 overs. And if you're a batsman, yeah, they need another string to their bow. Mujib or someone else at the same price palette. I don't mind Mujib. I think he's an international bowler. So that in itself, but he's got some really good averages. Yeah, he's the sort of guy that, like, it's going to be a bit of a yo-yo. And I was saying that I don't want to hedge my bets with Zampa and Mudge. Like Mudge very much first game could come out and score like 5, but if he's doing that, I think Zampa probably comes out and scores like a 50 or 60. But then in the second game, I think it'll reverse. Mudge may, and it's hard because sometimes I think Zampa's probably going to have the better economy, but then other games they respect Mudge, and he's the better economy rate. So that's why I like both of them. But I think if you're looking at Mudge, at his price point, he's fine. The only issue is if you wanted that extra heat, Spencer Johnson is at that same price point, so you could probably consider him. I'll take a couple last ones, and then I'm going to go watch this first game. I'm really. It's always good that the season's finally here. So you can still make your trades if you need to be. Who are you? Somebody just asked me, are you going to pick Swepo? Yeah, and I said no. Here we go. Somebody has asked me about, somebody else just said, should I go Spencer Johnson? And that looks pretty good in the team. Actually, that's pretty good. Just a quick one. I'm going to give my mate Grimo the shout out. So he's like his team, because he's usually pretty on the money here. I think he may have, I can't remember if he's won or if he's come kind of top 5 in BBL Supercoach, but he's had some marvelous results. He's probably slightly better than me at BBL, and he's a pretty good AFL fantasy player as well. So he's gone Billings and McDermott as his keepers. He's got Nisa, he's straight captaining him, with Curran, Munro, Clark, Maxwell, and then Short and JFM on the bench. And then his bowlers are Hardy, Richardson, as in Kane, Zampa, Mudge. So I actually don't mind the 3 Renegades, and I've looked at that as well. I just kind of think, is it too many? Then he's got Spencer Johnson and then Sango Manetti on the bench. So quite similar to mine. The only kind of real difference is he does have Johnson in there, and he's taken out Sutherland, but I know he's a big fan of Sutherland. So probably on a very similar path there. So he's got Hardy. I'm trying to think who he's got. So he's pretty well, unlike me, he's downgraded Sutherland and then upgraded Sams. So that's a pretty solid lineup. Really like that. Alex Kera for a cheapish. No, Alex Kera is going to be playing Test cricket, mate. He's not going to be in. And Kyle says, thanks to all the content creators, mate, it's been great. There's quite a few of us out there now. So, yeah, it's great chatting to a lot of you guys. Chris, what do you call this sport anyway? So, for those who don't know, Chris is one of our co-hosts, the founder of the Supercoach Insider boys. And, yeah, he is more for hitting him up for his footy and his basketball because he is all over that. Not as good, even though I'm actually going really well in BBL Supercoach at the moment. I think I'm definitely top 500. I can't remember exactly how high I'm up in there. Louis, Sanger or Overton? I'm going Sanger. I'm gathering you're talking about the cheaper Sanger as in Tavia, the spinner. But you might be looking at owning Overton. Either way, they both don't have a double first round. So if you want to save money, go Sanger. If you've got the money, you may as well put Overton on the bench. And Chris, we're not here to talk about Collingwood, and on that note, I think we'll finish it off. Great. It's great chatting to you guys. I'll have updates throughout the round and throughout the season, and we will talk soon.